Backstory of the world's oldest automaker, Daimler Benz. While Daimler, Benz, and Mercedes are notable names which remind us of prestigious cars and vehicles in today's world, there is much more history tied to those names, especially Daimler and Benz, who first began the production of automobiles in the 19th century. Want to know how those two men single-handedly rose to fame and took over the industry of automobile production? Then stick around till the end of this video. Small beginnings. It is often said that the biggest achievements arose from the smallest beginnings. In the case of Daimler and Benz, it is probably no different. The two men both ushered in the idea of individual automotive mobility in 1886. Carl Benz, who had quite limited resources, built a three-wheeled vehicle known as the velocipede, while Daimler, who was quite experienced, having worked at the engineering works of the Reutlingen Brotherhood, developed a four-wheeled automobile known as the motor carriage the same year. It is quite interesting to learn that these two men, both of German origin, lived only 100 kilometers away from each other but never got to speak to each other or acquaint themselves. While Benz worked on his invention in Mannheim, Daimler worked on his motorized carriage from Stuttgart. Though these two men produced groundbreaking innovations, they did not find immediate commercial success. While it was much easier for Daimler to gain foreign recognition through his acquaintance Wilhelm Maybach, it was not so easy for Benz to gain equal popularity until the end of the 19th century, when the Benz Velo, known for its double pivot steering, became a big commercial success in 1894. Daimler, on his part, constructed a racing car that gained popularity after being commissioned by Emil Jelinek. The performance of the car made it famous for motor racing, and the trademark Mercedes was given to the brand of Daimler's motor company, Daimler Motoren Gesellschaft. The merger. The outbreak of the First World War in 1914 greatly affected the two companies owned respectively by Benz and Daimler. At the time, private demand for cars were overthrown by the military demands, which were geared towards supporting the troops at the war front. As a result, the two companies merged more out of necessity than an actual desire to come together. Several banks had pressured the two companies to merge due to the dire situation the world was. However, with time, the market share gradually decreased as more and more automakers also took up the business and prospered in the trade. To add to it, the German currency faced serious devaluation at the time, and this had negative effect on the automotive industry. The shocking truth. It may be quite shocking to hear that the company, formed by the world's oldest automakers, once made use of forced labors and concentration camp detainees to meet up with the high demand their products got at the time. They started off with recruiting women, but when that was not enough, they made use of forced laborers from Western Europe, school workers from Eastern Europe, and prisoners of war interned in barrack camps with poor prison-like conditions. The prisoners consisted mostly of randomly abducted civilians and detainees from concentration camps. They survived under very inhumane circumstances and were given out as collateral to companies in exchange for money. Through this means and more, the Daimler-Benz company soared for as long as they could go to boost the company's massive success. After the war was over, in 1945, the Second World War had come to an end, and while it was a period worth celebrating for the country, it was quite disastrous for the Daimler-Benz company. Following the Potsdam Agreement, all German assets abroad were confiscated and used for the payment of reparation for the disasters inflicted by the war. The Daimler-Benz foreign subsidiaries and branches were implicated by the law, and so many assets were lost in the Soviet-occupied areas. The company began its reconstruction thereafter, mainly in operation as a repair facility for U.S. military vehicles. After concerted efforts to grow the company back to its previous state, the company received its production permit from the American Occupation Authority in 1946. Despite the chronic financial loss and economic crisis the company suffered at the time, they were able to regain themselves and rise once again to the profit margin in 1948 and 1949. The success story in 1949 to 1960. After the tragic decline in the Daimler-Benz company in 1945, the company staggered right back to the position it enjoyed in 1949. The automotive industry at the time had expanded quickly, and by 1954, Daimler-Benz had attained much more massive sales than ever. Due to the great increase in sales, the high sales figure became a symbol of the German economic miracle. Through the 1950s, Daimler-Benz was almost a monopoly seller of diesel engine, and the demand for Mercedes Benz cars rose even beyond the company's manufacturing possibility. In order for the company to meet up with high demand, it took over an auto union peopled by 4 German automobile manufacturers. With the combination of these 4 companies, the auto union soon became the largest automaker in Germany. In all of this, Daimler-Benz remained outstanding and at the helm of car production in Europe. The company is still famous today for its production of prestigious cars, trucks, and even buses. In 1988, the company took large steps to merge with Chrysler Cooperative to form Daimler-Chrysler, a German-American match that defeated lots of competitors and kept the company at the top. In 1998, the company resolved to change the name from Daimler-Chrysler to Daimler in order to distinguish between the company brand and its products. After the economic crisis thrived for a while, the company still emerged in 2010, stronger and better, with its products on high demand. Up until present, the company has thrived ceaselessly. It was being considered for the company to be split in two, namely Mercedes Benz and Daimler Truck, in order to reshape the company. There is an entire history to Daimler and Benz, which this documentary cannot contain. Do share in the comment section below your opinion about these two automakers, Daimler and Benz.